Welcome to our Backyard Brothers podcast. For the first time in what feels like a long time, all four of us are here. Uh, so we're excited to really dig into some stuff that we've wanted to talk about with the four of us here. So um, let's see if I can make this full screen. There we go. Okay. Um, there we go. Awesome. That's what I want. Probably only seen it on mine, so you have no idea what I'm talking about. But I see you now in full corners, right? So that's what I wanted to see. And as soon as I say that, Dustin leaves, but I'm sure he'll be back. So he'll he may have to deal with some kiddos jumping out of bed. But so Cody's memory. Let's move it over to Cody and have you kick us off and facilitate our memory for us.
Of course. So, I mean, this podcast all centered around sports. And sports we've talked about that causes an array of emotions. Whether you're excited about something, you're happy, it's the first time you're seeing your team win, whatever it is. There's a whole array of them. And one of them, as I'm sure we have all experienced, is anger. We get really angry at in a situation or at our own team or our opposite team or just whatever happens, whatever the circumstance. It could be any sport, any specific event we remember, but something that has made us angry. And for anyone who's listening and watching us, I want you to think about that as well. What's something that has made you angry? Why? And share that with us. We'd like to know. But since I'm facilitating that, I'll start. I'll kick it off. I've shared this before, but I haven't gone into detail the way I guess I am now. In 2019, I think is what it was, or the 2019 season, 2018, 2019 season, something like that. The Rams and the Saints were playing in the NFC Championship game, and we all know what happened in that game. The Rams went to the Super Bowl. There was a horrible no call passing penalty, and it, from what I remember, at least it's been a while now. From what I remember, the Saints should have gone. They should have won that game. They should have gone to the Super Bowl. The Rams ended up winning the game, I think, because of that call, and that made me really mad. That I didn't really like the Rams. I didn't hate them, but I didn't like them. I wanted to see the Saints go on, so I was really kind of annoyed with that they would miss something that big in such a big game. And then you go on with the Rams playing the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and of course it has to be the freaking Patriots. And I already so much, and it's just really annoying to me that a team who shouldn't even be there is playing. Of course, the Patriots, and that turns out to be the most boring Super Bowl like in the history of Super Bowls. It was, I think, 13-3 was the end score, 16-3, something like that. And they didn't. The Patriots didn't score that many points until really closer to the end of the game. It was such a boring game. All of that combined into one, I was just furious. I hated it. And the moment they won the game, I remember my wife and I had just recently got married. I mean, literally, I think within the month or within a 2 months or so. I had gotten up and I was like stomping and I was screaming at the TV, red face. I couldn't believe it. And I didn't even notice. My wife walked away. She walked downstairs and she just walked away. And and I didn't even notice it. After that happened, and we were looking at my parents' house. My mom was sitting down. She was looking at me like, "You might want to go check on your wife." That's what she said. And I was like, "Uh oh." So I walked downstairs and like, "You okay?" And she's like, "Do you always get that serious about football?" I said, "Oh, when it's the Patriots, yeah." And so um, I had to kind of realize that, because we're freshly married, she didn't realize how passionate I get about football and how much I hated the Patriots then. And so I kind of tried to explain it to her, try to help her understand, and she did. Didn't quite. It still didn't, it didn't really make an excuse for my actions there, but I was just so mad. That's something I think about when I get angry. That's a memory I go to. Is all of that kind of compiled to one. I just
Did Cody just freeze?
He may have.
Is
Um, but I have I don't know if he'll come back or not, but I have one that I think pairs well, maybe a little bit with that. and so
Yeah.
I can jump into it. And Scott, I feel like I might be stealing a little bit of yours here, and so we'll find out if it's the same.
We'll see.
But Cody, you froze a little bit. Are you back? Did you have any more to say?
No, I was literally finishing. I'm not sure if you heard me finish or not, but that's it.
Yeah, good. So I think the moment in sports that made me the most angry was when Kevin Durant signed with the Warriors. I think that's mine. Um, I remember I was at work. I was working at a grocery store, and I saw the ESPN notification, and I said, that can't be real. There's no way that anybody who even remotely likes the game of basketball would go and join the team that just went 73-9 in order simply to ring chase. Simply to just chase a ring. And I was so upset, and I couldn't believe it. I think I even texted or called Scott and be like, I can't believe this. Kevin Durant just signed with the Warriors. So, I mean, what had happened was the Thunder were the second best team in the league. And they took the Warriors up 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals. The Warriors then won 3 games in a row to beat the Thunder and go to the finals. This is the 2016 finals. The Cavs then did the same thing to the Warriors in the finals. Warriors went up 3-1. LeBron James brought the Cavs back, won 3 games in a row, and won the championship. And then about a week and a half later, Kevin Durant, who was playing for the Thunder, signed with the Warriors. Free agent signing. So, Cody, you talked about your Rams and all of that. Can you imagine? I think the best thing to say is, so the Patriots beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. Can you imagine a couple weeks later, Cooper Kupp, best player on the Rams, signs with the Patriots? Goes to the Patriots and goes on to win a couple of Super Bowls with them. I mean, that would have made you angry. Would it not have?
Or Aaron Donald.
Or Aaron Donald. That's what it was. For all of us NBA fans, is you had an MVP, one of the best players in the league, who went and joined the team that beat them. It simply because he wanted to win, and it was so frustrating. And I think most NBA fans absolutely lost all respect for Kevin Durant. And when people talk about how many rings they have, most people say, he's got none. Those 2 don't count.
Yeah.
So that's the moment that made me the most angry, is Kevin Durant signing with the Warriors.
There's a lot of them for me, and so I'm gonna have to just choose one, and I'm gonna stay in basketball, because 20 what was this 2010, maybe 11. Uh, the Lakers had just won a championship over the Magic, um, with Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol, and that group of Lakers had just beat Dwight Howard and the Magic, and the very next year, it's the Lakers and the Celtics in the finals, and I was so done. I'm always done with dynasties. I don't like dynasties. I hate them. I and so seeing the Lakers in the finals again, was tough. But the one before that is what I'm going to talk about. The Western Conference Finals. The Phoenix Suns at that time, they were. I love the Jazz, but I love watching the Phoenix Suns play. The Suns offense was just so fun to watch. Mark D'Antonio was the head coach. Steve Nash and Mari Stoudemire. I mean, you forget how good that this team was. The Phoenix Suns team was, those few years where Steve Nash had won some MVPs and was getting a little bit up there in age, but that year, I think it was 2010 and 11 season, I think, where they were really, it was just really tough to watch this Phoenix Suns team lose, and I think they lost in 5 games. It wasn't even that close, but it was just so tough to be a, a hater of the Lakers at that time, because I was cheering for the Suns. I watched the Suns go all the way through those playoffs, and they were so fun to watch. And then they just laid an egg against the Lakers, couldn't beat them, and so then I'm like, Celtics, you've got to redeem yourselves, and you've got to win this one, and they didn't either. I think they were tied up 2-2 at some point in the finals there, and then the Lakers won the next two games, won that series. If I'm thinking it right. But I just it was that time period where uh, Kobe Bryant made me so angry, not because he did anything necessarily wrong, unless you want to count all the sexual assault stuff, but uh, uh, um, but it was just because he was the best player in the world. He was so good that it was just not fair. It reminded me of watching Michael Jordan play uh, back in the 90s against the Jazz, where he was easily the best player in the world. It was just so difficult to watch him win. Kobe was exactly the same. And he would just do everything so well. And you hate him not because of any kind of personality flaw, but just because he is such a great player that he can't lose. Obviously, since Kobe has died, my opinion on him has changed a lot. Same with Michael Jordan. After he retired, you appreciate the greatness afterwards, and that's what happened with Kobe afterwards. But it was Kobe Bryant made me so angry against the Suns and against the Celtics, and earlier against the Magic, and he won 5 championships, and I hated him all 5. So yeah.
Nice. I'm probably switching gears a bit.
Yeah.
With we're gonna go with the Nate Diaz has the ball fight. It was the first BS champion fight that the UFC ever put on, which was bad MF, basically what it stood for. And the fight itself was a pretty decent fight. I liked the guys that were fighting each other. I like both fighters quite a bit. But I'm a diehard Nate Diaz fan, and Nick is his brother. And in that fight, he got this big cut over the top of his eye and kind of underneath it a little bit. That forced him to stop the fight, 4th round. Jorge Masvidal was looking like he was getting worn out, and Nate was really making a comeback in that fight. And if you know anything about the Diaz brothers, their cardio is incredible. And so just as he seemed to be mounting an overwhelming offense on Jorge for kind of the first time in the fight, they had called the fight, and him and everybody in the arena was upset about it. But looking back on it, it was a bad enough to stop the fight. But during the fight, it was like, no, let him come back. Like, let him finish. He wants to still fight. But from a doctor perspective or an outside, like a coaching perspective, he did the same fighter from himself in that instance. But couldn't hold me that on the night. I was furious that they stopped that fight and that Nate wasn't able to pull it off, because I was really rooting for him in that fight. Even though I like both fighters a lot, Jorge was coming off of that 5-second knee. I think I used that for a memory earlier. And yeah, that would be my memory, is just that Nate wasn't able to pull it out, and they stopped the fight before you thought it was over, or at least I did. And it was just so frustrating to be such a big fan of him and not be able to watch him fight all the way to the end.
Nice. Cody, anything to say to close it out?
Just thanks for sharing all those things. And I know we all have more than just what we share. Like I said, sports connects with us in so many ways emotionally. And a lot of times it's in a very good way, and a lot of times it's negative. We're angry about something just because we're connected to it so much, we care about it. So I think it's important to remember that being angry about something just shows how much we love it, or care for that. But it's also, in my case, important to remember not to scare your loved ones off. But other than that, thanks for sharing those things. Again, to anyone who's listening, comment, send us what moments have made you most angry and why. You'd love to read those.
And I think those are good comments, and I recognize that when it comes to being angry in sports, we tend to be more on the lower end of the anger spectrum. There are some people who take this way too seriously, and that whether it's TVs that get damaged or people that get damaged just because a ball hit the ground. And so glad to say that, yeah, when we talk about angry, we talk about like, oh, I'm so angry, I'm so upset that happened, not not the other way around.
Yeah.
Hide your wife and kids. My fighter lost the fight.
That's a good point, and yeah, we've all been upset, but we definitely don't want to hurt anybody because someone dropped a ball or something. So that's good point. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on over here. Share my screen. Entire screen. This one. Share. Do you see the NBA playoffs here? I'm hearing nothing. You guys seeing this?
It's a
Yes, I am now. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, we covered this a little bit last week, but the Pacers and Knicks here. It was after Game 4 that we met last week, and so the Knicks staved off elimination for one game. They did win that game last Thursday to take it to Game 6, but then the Pacers pretty easily won in the field house there to go to the NBA Finals. We talked about it last week as if it had already happened that the Pacers were going to win because we figured they would win at least one of the next 3 games, and they did. They won Game 6, but I think we covered it pretty well last week. But my one question is, why didn't Tyrese Halliburton win the the Eastern Conference Finals MVP? I was very surprised that Pascal Siakam actually won it. He had a great Game 6. I would give him the Game 6 MVP, and maybe the game was it 3, I think, where he played well as well. But Tyrese Halliburton scored 10 points or something like that. But overall, I thought Halliburton was by far the best player in that series, and so I just thought they gave Siakam the Game 6 MVP for the whole series. But it's a team game.
I think Halliburton would agree with you.
Yeah.
And you saw the way he reacted there. They were on the stage about to announce, it says, and the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and Halliburton starts walking forward and smiling.
Yeah.
Pascal, he goes, oh! He has to stop himself because even he thought that he was getting MVP. And so, yeah, I agree, and he agrees.
Yeah. It was just the Game 6 MVP, I guess is what you could call it.
Yeah.
Oh. Anything else about this Eastern Conference Final series? Hearing nothing. Moving on. We already talked about this series, so we are talking NBA Finals now. Indiana Pacers, Oklahoma City Thunder. The Western Conference 1 seed and the Eastern Conference 4 seed. We got Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton over here on the left. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, Miles Turner, Aaron Nesmith over there against Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey. So,
and SGA,
I don't know why Josh Giddey's on there. Why is he on there?
Yeah, not Josh Giddey.
I was going to say, wait a minute. I must have actually accidentally taken this from last year because that's supposed to be Alex Caruso on that side.
Yeah.
So,
true to Josh Giddey form, he snuck in where he shouldn't have been.
Whoa! Shots fired. High five for that one, Dustin.
And SGA is the one who won the MVP or something, right?
He did win the MVP.
Yes, he is the league MVP.
Yeah. Okay, so as you can see here, we're split. Dustin and I picked the Thunder, both of us in 6 games, and Cody and Yancey picked the Pacers, both in 7 games. Right now, we're inching closer to halftime in game 1, where the Thunder are up by 7 points right now. So I'm gonna get us out of here and go back to where we can see each other. But and let's talk about this the series here. What are we expecting in the NBA Finals? We kind of talked about it last week, but just from the first couple, quarter and a half, what are we seeing that we want to talk about?
So the Pacers are a high-powered offense, and the Thunder are a high-powered defense. They're also a great offense, but they're a super strong defensive team. And so right here, so far in the second half, it's a low-scoring game, which is most definitely favors the Thunder. And so I think that this is kind of going towards the Thunder way, the way that the Thunder want it to go. But it's still close. And what I would expect to happen and definitely hope to happen is that defense will step up for the Thunder and they'll get a few live ball turnovers, points off turnovers, and that usually breaks the game open where they go from a 7-point lead to a 18-point lead in 2 minutes, just like that, and all of a sudden the game's wide open. And so that's kind of what the Thunder need in order to take this series. And with a close defensive game like this, it's definitely leaning that way. But definitely what I'm seeing so far is that it's very physical. The refs are letting them bump and bounce off of each other. They're letting them fight for rebounds, letting them fight at the rim, which is good. I like it for sure.
It probably favors the Thunder in that case. That kind of
Yes.
style of play. Yeah. Miles Turner wants to do that, but that's about it. I wouldn't fight Miles Turner if I were anybody in the world, but especially Chet Holmgren.
I think
break in half. So.
Yeah. I think the only NBA player I would fight would be Muggsy Bogues, since we're about the same height.
That's a scrappy dude. I'm not putting my money on you.
Well, maybe now, but
Yeah, now he's 65.
60-year-old.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah. What I'm seeing is, I mean, I agree with you, Dustin. With everything that you're seeing there, the one thing that I will go back to with the Pacers' high-powered offense is their three-point shot. If they get hot, they can make those shots. They've already made 6 of them so far this game. A quarter and a half in, they're going to take a lot. They've taken 16, so they're still only 38%, whatever that is, and so they're going to take a lot of 3-pointers because that's what their offense is going to dictate around, and that's what the Thunder are going to try to force them to do. And so if they are making 40+% of those, they're a tough team to beat if they're going to make that kind of 3-point shot. And so that's what I'm going to be watching for is them making these 3-point shots. They're down by 10 now, but you make 3-pointers back in the game right in it. So
Thunder just forced back-to-back turnovers, though. So just like I said, things are starting to happen like we want them to.
Like you want them to.
Yeah.
Yancey, Cody, anything to talk about the NBA Finals?
I mean, just from what we're seeing right now, I think the only thing I would say is that it's. It is going to go to 6 or 7 games. I think for sure. I don't think it's a. I don't think it's like a. I don't know what the word is. I guess a guess at all. It's going to go before that. So I think we're right there, 6 or 7. But just from what Dustin was saying and the competitiveness of the game so far, so that's what I'm thinking of right now.
Yeah,
I would say the only way the Pacers win this series is if it goes 7. Otherwise, Thunder got it.
Yeah, I think the Pacers are going to be able to actually wear on the Thunder a little bit, and like skinnier Chet might end up rolling an ankle or something like that. And I think that that's where the Pacers are going to just kind of grind them out. They may not necessarily be the best team, the better of the two teams with the best record of the two teams, but I do think they're going to be able to push the Thunder in a way that other teams haven't necessarily been able to.
Okay. Anything else to talk about the NBA or we have one more topic in the NBA first, but anything else about the NBA finals? Otherwise, we'll check in next week, and it might be over. We'll see what happens next week. So,
Go Thunder.
yeah, one more topic
Go Hoosiers.
in the NBA. And I know Dustin and I have serious thoughts about this, and Cody, I want to specifically talk to you about this too, but certainly hear Yancey's thoughts. The New York Knicks just fired Tom Thibodeau. He was the head coach of the Knicks. Dustin, I'm thinking if I want to turn it over to you to talk first about this. So why don't you go?
So, yeah, head coach of the Knicks, got them to the Eastern Conference Finals. In my opinion, Knicks were one of the 4 best teams in the NBA if you get to that level. And the Knicks ownership group, for some reason, thought that that wasn't good enough and fired Coach Thibodeau. So my question, and this may be not answerable, but like, who do the Knicks think is a better coach, better positioned to get them to the finals, to get them past, already this top level of what they've done? And like, again, what's the message being sent there? What coach wants to take this with full confidence in themselves so they can win a championship? Otherwise, they'll be sent out the door. Those are kind of my reactions. It's just like, wow. I think I texted in the group, there doesn't seem to be a single brain cell in any of the New York sports franchises ownership groups. So, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw it either. It's the entire NBA is acting this way. The Suns did it after they firing what's his name, Mike Budenholzer 2 years ago, and uh, I mean they got swept by the Timberwolves in that series, but still, and now the Knicks have done it. A bunch of other teams. As soon as you don't win a championship, your coach has shown the door, and I don't understand that mindset. I don't, especially with the Knicks. They just had the best season of their franchise this century. The last time they were in the NBA Finals was 1999. Actually, the last time they were in the Eastern Conference Finals was '99, and so this was the best year that they've had in 20. How long is that? 26 years. And so I don't understand what else you need to see to keep your head coach at that point. He's obviously doing great. He's led 3 different franchises to the playoffs, to deep into the playoffs at times, and so it's just so disappointing to me to see a team do this, and especially whoever they hire is going to have the biggest pressure of any team in the NBA, because obviously the only thing good enough for the next coach is to make the NBA Finals. Maybe that's not enough. Maybe you have to win it in his first season. I mean, he's taken over a team that is clearly good enough to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. And so, what if you're the head coach interviewing for this? Like, are you going to accept it if you realize, hey, I'm one and done if I don't make the finals? That's kind of my thoughts.
So, and my guess is that they're going to hire Michael Malone. He's won a finals. He's won a championship. He's obviously the most successful coach available to hire. So I imagine that's what they would do. But I mean, I think we've talked about our philosophy. Success to that caliber of making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, to making it to the Final Four of any sports franchise, success of that caliber is so incredibly difficult to achieve, regardless of your lineup, regardless of anything you have. And so, it would be so hard to go in with that type of expectation. So I would say good luck to whoever they hire, and I wouldn't expect them to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. Cody, you've been frozen on my screen for a long time, at least my screen. I don't know about everyone else's, but I hope you're here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so I wanted you to chime in about your philosophy here that you've talked about in the past, and it seems like you've kind of softened a little bit on that, but still, I want to hear your thoughts about this particular scenario. The Knicks have not made it to the Eastern Conference Finals since 1999. They finally make it there, but then they fire their head coach because they didn't advance.
So I guess I need to make sure I understand everything around it. How long has he been the coach there?
What is it, Dustin?
I think it's
4
his
years,
first
5
year.
years? Not Tom Thibodeau?
4 years? Yeah, maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may be right. 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years, and this is the farthest they've gotten in those 4 years. Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
Farthest they've gone in 26 years.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But under his well, that answers the question, I guess, too. So under his leadership, this is the farthest they've gotten, which was to the conference finals. What were their wins like? Did they increase each year?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs all 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Then
made the playoffs, but they were rated the 3 seed this time, which that was definitely the highest rating that they've had. So yes.
So yeah, and you're right, Scott. My philosophy has softened a little bit. I think I understood some things that I didn't quite understand last time. But I still think I'm a little more strict on it than I think you guys are. So with that being said, I would not have fired him at this point yet, because it sounds like he's making progress. He's moving in the right direction, and they're getting there. However, I would expect a same result next year, at least, if not more. So they would have to make it to the conference finals again next year, or go to the championship game and win it next year. If they don't, then it'd be a talk about his future at that point, and say, hey, why are we dipping down to this point? What's going on? And just kind of figure out what's going on there. So from what you guys have told me, 4 years in, he's made progress every year. They've won more games. They've gotten this far. He deserves at least another year, if not more than that, to prove that they can also win a championship game. Because again, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, you're not just playing just for kicks and giggles. You're playing to go win a championship game. So, but he's shown that that they can get to that point. Now you got to go back next year and show that it's not, just luck. But yeah, I would disagree with his firing.
Yeah, look, in my opinion, if you take a team farther than it's been ever, right, in the last 26 years, and then you fire the guy that did it, it's like you're building a foundation to a house, and somebody dropped a candy bar wrapper in it, and you go, oh, no, I'm done building this house. They screwed it up. Like, it does not make sense to throw away all the progress you had with that guy who was obviously improving your team, in my opinion. And I can't really wrap my head around that. And I'm kind of in the camp, I think similarly to you and Dustin, Scott, that, like, what do we even do? What's the point? Who do we hire from here? If the guy who did the best job got fired anyway, the next guy is going to be like, well, what am I? Okay, what do I have to look forward to? Do I got 3 years of Spike Lee yelling at me? Like, what's the point?
So I also think of it from like the GM standpoint, from a purely business standpoint. If you get to the playoffs, you get to host at least two, usually three, at least three playoff games. You know, and you get to charge huge amounts of money for tickets for that. And so if you make it through three rounds in the playoffs, and you're getting at least 9 games extra that are, millions of dollars coming in. Like from a business perspective, even getting to the playoffs, is huge financial gain for your team. So as a GM, you should be like, yeah, I want a coach who gets me to the playoffs because that makes more money for me. And then on top of that, you had entire New York City just completely revitalized. I mean, I think I mentioned it last podcast. You had Walt Frazier, Latrell Sprewell, and Patrick Ewing showing up to games to support. I mean, those were guys. Patrick Ewing and Latrell Sprewell were on the team in 1999, and they're showing up to support this team. I mean, the city was on fire. The city was alive. I mean, you have Ben Stiller and Timothy Chalamet. They got shots of them on the sidelines going crazy for the team. I mean, you've never seen more energy for the New York Knicks than you did. And then the GM just absolutely just pulled the rug out from underneath the entire fan base.
Yeah. And it's so different in New York too, because every other sport has two teams based in New York: football, hockey, and baseball. Basketball has the one, just the Knicks. And so it's everyone in New York City no one's divided there between the Jets and the Giants. It's everyone's on the Knicks, and so that's what made that basketball franchise so important to that city. And so that's just really tough that now you're kind of alienating that franchise again.
Brooklyn's pretty close. I mean, you got the Brooklyn Nets just across the bay, just across the river.
Thank you for pointing that out. I forgot. For some reason, I was living back in 1997 when they were in New Jersey, which is still across the river. But
yeah, it's still. I mean, even with that, you still have two teams within like 5 miles of each other.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thanks for calling me out on that. I know. Totally.
I was gonna say, didn't you live in Brooklyn?
I did live in Brooklyn. I even went to the Barclays Center.
That was when it was New Jersey Nets, though. That was when it was the New Jersey Nets.
That's the year they went to.
Okay.
2013, and I went to the Barclays Center like several times too. So I should have known that.
That's pretty funny to forget the team.
So, a couple of things, I guess, questions or just thoughts to prod out on this. With all of us agreeing, and probably the entire sports world agreeing that he shouldn't be fired in this situation, but we're all looking at the GM, right? And so, how possible is this that it was an owner move because of bad standing? They weren't getting along, so he said, "GM, you fire him, or I'm going to fire you," kind of thing, or. How much of a possibility is that, or is there a possibility there's corrupt? I don't know, something, because it doesn't add up. We're talking about that. It doesn't add up, and so it's like, is there something else possibly going on that we don't know right away? Like maybe it's the ownership wanting to do it.
Dustin, you weigh in too, but there's a slight possibility. Tom Thibodeau is a very demanding coach. Of his players, there is a possibility that there may have been some unrest between players and coach, but I don't know about front office and coach, but he's a very demanding coach, and so there could have been that. But at the same time, I think players like to play for him for the most part. So I don't know. Dustin, do you know?
I think that they told Tom Thibodeau to finally just cut the hair and go bald. He said no, and they fired him. That's what I would think. Because this man has like 7 hairs left on his head, and he's committed to keeping them there.
No, like Homer.
Yeah. what I have seen on some reports is that the ownership group basically said Tom Thibodeau got outcoached by Rick Carlisle, and that's unacceptable to be outcoached as a New York Knicks coach. And I say we're talking about Rick Carlisle, who's been a coach in the NBA longer than Thibodeau has for many more teams, and has won championships, and like you're talking about an elite level coach.
Yeah.
And who do you expect to be able to bring in that's better than Rick Carlisle?
Yeah.
Good
I was going to
luck.
say being outcoached by Rick Carlisle is something that almost every coach in the NBA has had to face at some point or another. Yeah. Okay.
So
Well,
that's
go ahead.
what I read was that was kind of the reasoning behind it. So anyway.
Okay, great discussion there. Anything else about NBA? We're moving on to different sports for a second here. So don't want to leave it behind if we have more thoughts. Okay. We're talking about NFL for just one topic here because as of today, it was announced that Aaron Rodgers is signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This has been a topic of conversation since the beginning of the preseason that Aaron Rodgers might be signing with Pittsburgh. They really didn't have a starting quarterback on their roster, so they were kind of leaning into this hard that they were going to get Aaron Rodgers. But he finally, they finally inked the deal, and he's showing up at minicamp. So Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. For a 1 year deal. It could be a 1 year and then retire. Could be, we don't know what it will look like, but it's a 1 year deal. So reactions to this news.
Percocet ready in Pittsburgh. I don't know what you want. So
I don't know what to think, honestly. I mean, like you said, we all kind of knew it was coming, but I mean, after his time in New York, I'm just not sure I believe that he's as good as he was. He's kind of washed. I think he's not going to be great. I mean, he's better than maybe 40%, 50% of the quarterbacks for in the league. For sure. That sounds harsh, maybe as I think about it now, but I don't know. I just don't see him being the Aaron Rodgers that we know, the four-time NFL MVP anymore. I don't think he's that anymore. I don't think the Steelers can expect that from him. But he's, better than Mason Rudolph. So,
So Cody, I think very similar reaction response. And then I remembered what I said either last week or 2 weeks ago when we discussed the Steelers, and I said, Mike Tomlin is an absolutely fantastic coach who keeps dragging teams that have absolutely no business being in the playoffs through the playoffs. And I said it's the GM's job to get him some talent in order to get them farther and maybe even back to the Super Bowl. And like, while I agree with you, Cody, that I also think that Aaron Rodgers is washed, this is like actually a really good move to get a really experienced quarterback with a really experienced coach in order to help this team elevate beyond barely over 500. And so as I think about it that way, I'm actually like, this might actually be really good. What Aaron Rodgers might need is a 20-year type of coach that understands, that thinks on the same high IQ level that Aaron Rodgers does. It's like, wow, maybe.
I like that thought process. I'm trying to open up something here, but the problem that I see is one. Aaron Rodgers was best when he could move within the pocket. He could move outside of the pocket. He was really a great player on the move. He doesn't have that anymore. He's not that player anymore. So he's learning he needs to adjust and find a new way to be effective, and he didn't find that out in New York. I think it's a similar situation with the offensive line. I don't think it's very good out there, so it's going to be an issue over there too. And then the Steelers' best receiver, the drama queen George Pickens, is now over in Dallas. And so there's not a whole lot of receivers either for Aaron Rodgers to throw to, which was the problem in New York. Um, I swear that if I was a betting person, I would put down several $100s to bet Devontae Adams also signs with Pittsburgh here in the offseason.
I'm sure there's a bet out there for that.
Because they don't have the kind of receivers that they would normally need. I think their best receiver that they signed in the offseason was Van Jefferson from the Tennessee Titans, and they didn't draft a receiver, and so they don't. What, Cody?
Sorry, I was. Is it that are you either forgetting DK Metcalf, or is your opinion so low on DK Metcalf?
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. It looks like. Nope.
I can believe both, that you either forget him or.
No, I was looking at the wrong team here. Sorry. Yes, DK Metcalf and Robert Woods are the two guys that they brought over in Pittsburgh. Robert Woods is a veteran. He's kind of washed up. But DK Metcalf is certainly a top 20 receiver in the NFL. And so that helps for sure. So thanks for pointing that out. My second faux pas. Do I have 3 of 3? So anyway.
He's also a top 20 in getting unsportsmanlike penalties. So good luck with that with him.
Yeah. So DK Metcalf.
Yeah, he's a great receiver when he's not pile driving cornerbacks.
Yeah. So yeah, want to hear from Yancey.
I think. Look, I like Dustin's take on this. That if I did it right here, I think overall the best place Aaron Rodgers has a chance is Pittsburgh because of the coaching staff. I totally agree with that. I think it's going to suck for him experience-wise because of the things that Scott was mentioning. DK Metcalf is a great wide receiver. He's not enough to make your offensive line incredible. You know what I mean? You need a good offensive line. He does not have that. I can't even name a Steelers lineman. They had a good center that they just lost a couple of years ago, so I don't even know who I would point at to say that's the leader of this line. And you also need a guy like that for the line that you have in quarterback at Aaron Rodgers. But, leadership only goes so far in a game of physicality. And I don't think that his body will be able to keep up later in the season. So it doesn't matter who's coaching him if he's on the bench because he can't physically play. And unfortunately, that's I see it going that way until he admits that and quits playing football.
They're very young on the offensive line, to answer your question. Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, Broderick Jones, those 3 guys are all 3 years or less in the NFL. 2 of them were rookies last year. They're very young on the offensive line.
And that's not to say that they won't perform great, but it's certainly not the situation you want to bring a guy with 10 plus years on the wheels. You know what I mean? You want a hardcore veteran in the center of that line and a team that's been together for a while to protect that guy, especially if he's going to be the asset you hope him to be, because I'm sure they didn't get him cheap. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a rough go. It was the best move they could make and that Aaron Rodgers could make, in my opinion, but it's still not. I don't think it's going to pan out very well for anybody involved.
Yeah, just to add to that really quick, I read somewhere that the Steelers O-line, they're betting on potential rather than having something proven right now, because as Scott said, it's a lot of youthful talent, and I feel like betting on potential on an offensive line is not typically what you do when you try to get a veteran quarterback, right? You're really kind of convincing them to come because, oh hey, we have a proven O-line, rather than, okay, come over here, we have a hopefully good offensive line. doesn't work that way. So
We
it's just
know they
interesting.
eat a lot, but we don't know about blocking. And that guy doesn't know what a pulling guard is, but we'll work on it.
Yeah. Okay. Switching gears one more time. Yancey, you had an announcement for combat sports.
Yeah, coming up on Saturday, Sean O'Malley is going to take on Marab Devishwali. I can't really say his name very good. It's long, but you can check that fight out. They'll be on ESPN Plus if you can afford $80 and want to watch guys fight, or go to Hooters or whatever. And I think O'Malley's going to win this fight. He lost the first one. Hopefully, he can. I don't know. Do his best to stay off his back, keep the fight standing, and hope to score a knockout. That's the way. If I had to put money on it, I would bet on O'Malley this time to get his revenge for losing the first fight.
All right. Thanks for that. The last topic that I had here was NHL Stanley Cup going on. Technically, game 2 is tomorrow. It's a rematch between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. We talked about that last week, that it would likely be that way. And Edmonton won game 1. Florida won last year, won the whole thing, and so Edmonton won game 1. The last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup, Cody wasn't born. So there's some history in the making here. You would think that Canadian teams would have won a lot of Stanley Cups, but they haven't won since 1993, I believe. So any Canadian team, and that was Montreal Canadiens that won. So Edmonton won game 1. So they have 3 more games left to try and win one for the Canadians.
From some other land.
Yeah. So, any talk about hockey? We talked about it last week, that it's kind of annoying to see back-to-back same teams playing in a championship, but that's okay.
Is this hockey game and that fight Yancey was talking about the same thing, or are they different?
That's funny.
Okay, well, that reached our everything that we're going to talk about today. So we're ending right on time. Next week, we'll continue to cover the NBA Finals. I don't think that it will be over, on Thursday of next week. It could be if some team sweeps, I think, but that's probably not going to happen. So. So we'll talk about the NBA playoffs next week, and we'll find other things to talk about. We'll have a memory. I think it's Yancey's turn for a memory next week. So, yeah. Anything else, guys?
No. Good.
Okay. It's halftime in the NBA game right now, and Thunder have a 12-point lead. I think, is that right? 13-point lead. And it's not half.
Couple minutes into the third quarter now. Yeah.
Just turned back over there. Yeah. Thunder up by 13 right now. Okay. Thanks, guys, and talk to you next week.
See you, boys.